Peter, how are you?
Hey, Michael. Good to be here, brother.
Oh, I'm stoked to connect with you. I didn't know of you and your work because I'm just not kind of tier zero and like in the inner circle of your world. And when you came across my desk of what you were doing, I was like, holy, like, like, really? You've done all this? And so I punched over to one of my friends, and he's like, oh yeah, he's a real deal. And so I'm so stoked to sit with you and learn with you. And I wanted to start with this. So this is like, it's an epic endorsement of your book. The legend Bill Walton says, Peter is a brilliant architect of communities, culture, and dreams. And I thought, wow, that's a really cool way to start this conversation. So, you
Especially
know,
Bill Walton. I still can't believe that. Bill
I,
Walton.
yeah, so I'm imagining that you guys overlapped around the Grateful Dead, knowing,
Yeah,
well, okay. So can you
he's
just
a big,
start?
yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't
can
that
you
funny
start
that
from that
Bill
place?
Walton,
Yeah.
yeah, he actually like connects a lot of the themes from the words of Robert Hunter and John Perry Barlow, lyricist of the Grateful Dead. Some of these like to like being a champion and being on the road, the journey of a sports team, seeking greatness, and an athlete and a performer seeking excellence. And I actually am involved in a big voter registration organization, Headcount. We had a call with Bill, and Bill started connecting voting, with the music of the Grateful Dead. He can connect anything to it. And when you see him, he's 7 feet tall. He's at the concert. He's down on the GA, in front of the soundboard with everyone else. Everyone else is about an average of about 5'9", right? Some people are 5'4", some 6 feet, but then there's Bill Walton right in the middle. And he puts his hands in the air and he's got this massive wingspan. So he goes to about 7 feet, 6 inches. And he looks like, a pole, a lightning pole, a light pole, and it's unbelievable. And he looks. John Mayer once said to me, who plays in Dead and Co, he looks out from the stage into the audience, and he sees Bill Walton just towering. There's thousands of people, but all you see is Bill Walton. He just towers over everyone. There's no other basketball players, NBA players at a Grateful Dead show, but Bill Walton's there, and he comes all the time. It's awesome.
He's a legend. And for him to, and he understand, like he was a student to one of the greats, one of the great coaches of all time. And so he understands what it means to not only perform consistently, but to be a student of excellence. And so John Wooden is the coach I'm referring
Yeah,
to.
UCLA. He
Yeah.
won. Bill Walton's a champion. By the way, here's an interesting thing, and I don't have it offhand. Bill Walton has had something like 20 to 30 back surgeries,
Mhm.
not two or three or five or 10. And so if someone listening, you can look it up. I'm talking 30 back surgeries. For a couple of years, he told me he was in bed and could not get up because you're 7 feet tall, you're lumbering back and forth in practice and games and tough on the body. He couldn't move for a couple of years without immense pain. He credits his recovery, obviously medical surgery, but really the power of the mind. And he is really, yeah, he's someone maybe you should have on because he's use of in control of his mind he credits to overcoming debilitating back pain. And now he walks around, he's at these shows, he says he has no pain. So it's pretty interesting just to show the power. I swear he credits not the surgeries, which I'm sure helped, but rather mind control to overcome the
Mm.
pain.
You know, the relationships you have with people is remarkable. In your book, like you talk about just the number, like the vast number of people that have that you have relationships with. And I think your inner circle is tight. I think you mentioned that. But the connectivity that, you as a hub, your places that your venues that you
Well,
own and like there's a hub there about relationships. So can you take a minute before I do want to ask you about what it means to be an architect of dreams, but let's start with the architect of communities. Like how do you think about relationships?
Well, you started off and said I've been able to pull off a lot. Everything that I've done, any one of the venues or a film, or I have a music magazine, I have a music festival, I have kids shows, anything I do, everything is a partnership. I really, I come to it, and I know from experience, you can't do it alone. You can't do anything. So for me, all these things are collaborations. I love owning a music venue because it puts me in the middle, like you're saying, instantly, of a scene, of a hub of people. And you get to collaborate with different people every day. These venues are mostly 7 days a week. They're not one or two shows. I'm not a big concert promoter of like doing an arena show twice a month, or a stadium. I own the venue. And these venues are, especially Wetlands, where I started. I took over in 90. I'm 49, turning 50 in a week or two. I started at 23 with my first venue, Wetlands, 1996. That was the largest live music venue in New York that was 7 nights a week. When you're 7 nights doing rock and roll, every morning that you wake up, Michael, after the show from last night, you do it again. And then you go do it again. You can't get off the bike, right? You want to pause, it goes. So the only way to keep going is to get on the phone, right? And you're collaborating, you're booking new shows with an agent and a manager and the band. You're there at the end of the night with the band. They become your friend. I was a great club owner early. I had no family. I was there at the end of the show. Band comes off stage, 1 a.m. Pete Shapiro was there with a tray of tequila shots. Like, harder for me probably today. I was a great club owner, partly because I was young and I was good because I was there at the end. Those musicians became my friends, you know.
And you say 1:30, you say 1:30, but it's more like 4
Oh yeah, I have
at,
four.
at the
You said it's an
wetlands.
average. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Wetlands, a lot of the shows are 3, 4. And you know what? I made sure there's a thing when writing a book, I came up with, because I spend so much time. One, it's so simple that you can't see it if you're not there. You can't be there if you're not there. I swear that's a band. If I have friends who are playing, and I'll be right, they played 2 sets, they go on at 10:30, 11 at Wetlands. They played till 2:30, 3 a.m. If I can't do the tequila shots with them when they've come off stage, if I'm not standing there,
Is
so you got to
okay.
be there.
So you got to be there. So is this your tradition? It's a tequila shots post. Is that something that you created, or is that something that is?
Yeah, now we've moved it a little more before the show sometimes. Here's a good one. I'll give out some tricks, at least my tricks, to people who want to do this maybe one day and they're listening. If you can't be there, a great thing to send to the band backstage before they go on, right before they go on, you have your production manager bring out a tray of tequila shots and say, "These are from Peter." And even better is I'll sometimes FaceTime in. If
Mm.
I have to be, now I've got venue in Vegas or Nashville or Philly. If I can't be there or somewhere, I'll FaceTime in holding a shot wherever I am, or a glass or whatever. And occasionally we'll coordinate it so they're side stage, the band. And my guy, I FaceTime the production manager who shows them the phone, and I'm there. And so that's a way to connect. You cannot underestimate, I think, the power of, like you're talking about, being there, connecting, putting these shows on together. If you can do it that way, that's the best way. So I've
And
spent a
then
lot of years flying around, red eyes, this, that, and doing the tequila shot move. Yeah, that works before the show. It works at separate, and it also works great after the show. And I'll tell my guys, feel out the band. By the way, don't bring the tequila shots. And by the way, you always have to have something for someone who doesn't drink the soda water. So we thought, but if the mood's somewhat off or sound check, you don't bring it out before the show unless it's, my guys know, then maybe wait to the after the show. And by the way, if the show didn't do really well and it's a light crowd, I don't think, maybe you don't do the tequila shots at all. One
mm.
trick I've learned is I don't love going to shows that didn't do well of mine. Like, it feels awkward for me. Hey, what's up? This sucked, but when it's good, you try to add elements like giving the band a tequila shot to make it great. I
So
think
this
it's a good
this
thing.
is this super simple, which is like what's What is your tequila? Your go-to tequila? And I don't want to be too surfacey, but that's kind of fun for me.
I mean, for a lot of years it was Patron Silver,
Hmm.
and now I just like a good old do a Casamigo Silver. You know, everyone likes that, but for years and years, just Patron Silver. Let's go. But it's silver. It's not gold when it's chilled.
Okay.
And but I'll do anything. You know, we'll take. We don't need to go. You know, listen, a lot of people like the 1942. That's a
Hmm.
different thing. That will get a manager of a major band. Will say, I got a few of those. Like, I want a bottle of 1942.
Hmm.
So, but tequila is a great, and it's a good. I have a couple things like that. Christmas lights. Here's a good one. I swear, my first club, Wetlands, we had Christmas lights, 1996 holidays, up behind the bar. They give off a glow, a lot of color. I swear, this is true. A lot of color and positive radiation. We bring them down in early January. They pull them off. I walk into Wetlands, I'm like, what? What's the holy cow? The energy in this place went from colors and fun and I want to be here and stay here to it's darker and it's a little more depressed. It's darker and all. We got to put those Christmas lights back up. So we put them back up, and I've had them in every venue since. Now, you know how much Christmas light you can get those Christmas lights? Anyone listening for $50 at Target or $100? I swear. All the Brooklyn Bowls, my Capitol, I do Christmas lights, my Capitol Theater all the time, all year round. I've had it, and they cost nothing basically. So it's just that's an example of you don't always need. Sometimes you need money. You know, sound system you can't get for $50 at Target, but Christmas lights, maybe it's $100 for the full bar. You know, they simple things like that can give a lot of powerful little bit. I don't know if you can radiation off of it. Makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah, ambiance, and I think it takes me to back to relationships, which to oversimplify, there's like transactional relationships, and then there's ones that are more sensitive to the quality of the relationship. And so where do you fall on relationships? Are they more transactional,
Well,
or are you
yeah, for
deeply
me, they are
invested?
both, right? I have these
Hmm.
relationships with my friends where I have to talk to them and make deals. A lot of them on the phone, handshakes. And then I just yesterday I called a musician directly. You know, most people who do what I do have to go through the agent. You know, you're not even supposed to call the manager or the band. They have an agent. And most of my venues, we go through the agent. I know the agents, know the managers. But now, right, I've been friends with these guys since doing tequila shots when they walked off stage in 1997 at Wetlands. So the guy called yesterday, I've known that long, and others. And I feel like they see me a bit as a peer. So we can be collaborative in a concept. But sometimes we'll talk money, you know, and it's transactional. But we have that overlay of collaboration and history and friendship. So my world is one world in terms of business, friendship, um, social, professional, social life, professional life, personal life, professional life. For me, it's a blended gray thing. You know, it all overlays.
Because it's so overlapping. If you could, how do people think about you when they describe you? Do they say, "Oh, Pete, God, he's a great business person. Pete's a risk taker. Pete's just a good dude. Pete gets it. Pete's a nut job." Like, but you want to be at his spots. Like, how did
I
you
mean, I
think
don't want
people
to.
describe you?
Yeah, you'd have to.
Well,
I
I can't,
think
I can't, I can't ask your
I
friends, you know?
right. Well,
Yeah.
I know. I like that I'm able to. I think I'm thought of as someone who's creative and has a business mind,
Okay.
and that's a great compliment. There are not many people I think who can do that, and I'm able to do it, Michael, because I've been doing it partially so long. You know, there's the whole Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours thing through to deciding to do the book and sitting down and thinking about it. We realized I've done 10,000 shows. I wasn't at every show, but I was responsible for 10,000 different shows, not bands, shows, where if something goes wrong at 4 in the morning, I'm getting a call. Because even when you're not there, when you're responsible, it takes something. You can hear it in my voice, some of those shows. Those reps doing that, I have the ability to be a good creative collaborator.
Mm,
I know I have a feeling for how to do a good show. I knew those Christmas lights. The venue is better off with that glow. When I did the Dead 50 at Soldier Field, one of the biggest concerts ever, 78,000 people, full Soldier Field 360, we thought of an issue that's a problem issue, security. I mean, not a problem, but it's not a fun thing like security for the Grateful Dead's 50th anniversary and the fans, and maybe they're smoking something, and like you don't want that to go in the wrong direction. Once one person gets stopped, arrested, someone could yell back, and we wanted to get ahead of that, right?
mm,
You need to get ahead of the issues. So what I came up with from sitting there late at night and running Netflix in my brain, instead of watching Netflix, I sit there and look at the ceiling thinking about how do we fix this issue. We got all the security guys at this stadium to wear tie-dyed shirts. They still had the official security number on the shirt. And that had, like the Christmas lights, material impact, I believe, on the vibe and the energy in a stadium where instead of big black shirts, that said security all over them, all the security personnel at this giant stadium concert were wearing tie-dye shirts. And I think that had an impact on how the security acted, how the fans responded to them, and we had no issues. And I went and met with the mayor of Chicago to say, let's play zone defense this weekend and not lean it, because and that's what I do is try to think through how can we maintain, the best possible vibes. That's my Netflix is like, instead of sitting there, is always, because if I'm not thinking it through and getting ahead of it, it's going to go offline. It's going to go the wrong way, I believe.
Okay, I want to take a quick break here to talk about Ice Barrel. So, recovery is one of the most overlooked and essential staples of consistently performing at a high level. So, when we think about recovery, we often think about sleep and nutrition and stretching and all that good stuff. But one other well researched and powerful recovery tool that you may be missing is cold water therapy. And that's why I'm stoked to introduce to you Ice Barrel. Ice Barrel is a cold therapy tool, and they offer an easy way to bring ice baths to your routine. They have a clean design. It's a compact footprint. It's designed for you to experience the benefits of cold therapy from the convenience of your home. Whether it's an apartment balcony or backyard or garage, Ice Barrel makes cold therapy easy. It's portable. It's convenient. All you have to do to get started is to fill it up with water and ice. I've been loving it. Some of the things that I notice after I use it, there's a sense of better recovery, like I mentioned earlier. But after I get out, I definitely feel switched on. Like my brain is fully alert, my mind is switched on, my mood is epic. There's just an aliveness about it that's amazing. And they're hooking us up with a great offer. So go to icebarrel.com/finding mastery. And then when you do that, you get $125 off your order when you use the code Finding Mastery at checkout. If you're into it, I want to encourage you to check them out. They've got a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free, really. And so once again, it's Ice Barrel, ICEBARREL, icebarrel.com/finding mastery, and use the code Finding Mastery to get $125 off your order. And Finding Mastery is also brought to you by Rumple. So they're on a mission to give the world better blankets. Literally, their blankets that they create are awesome. They're made from the same materials as premium sleeping bags, puffy jackets, that type of feel. So Rumple has created a unique product that's in a class of its own. And I say that because when I experienced it, it's different now. Their blankets are weather resistant, lightweight, easily packable, and extremely durable, making them ideal for any adventure. And those same qualities that make Rumple ideal for the outdoors also make them great for the living room. That's where I'm using them right now. Their fabric easily sheds everything from pet hair to debris to drinks that spill on them, all that good stuff. That's how they designed it. And one of the things that I love that they're doing is their dedication to sustainability. They've made a fundamental commitment to look to the future responsibly. They're a certified B Corp. They're members of the 1% of the planet, and all of their products are made from recycled materials. And then their designs are cool too. They've got over 10 national park designs and 135 print and styles. There's a blanket literally for everyone. Plus, they offer a 100-night trial and free shipping and return so that you can try Rumple risk-free. Save 15% on your order by going to rumpl.com/findingmastery or use the code findingmastery at checkout. So it's Rumpl, rumpl.com/findingmastery, or use the code findingmastery at checkout for 15% off. And with that, let's jump right back into our conversation. So you have a community. You value creating experiences for people, and evidenced by the small detail that we're talking about is lighting, but there's an experience in there. And it feels like your life has been designed around helping other people's dreams come true. And before I make that assumption, is that accurate? Or is it your dream that you're creating? And it just happens to be that other people's dreams, are also part of it. Or is it what I said first, which is like, no, listen, I love creating moments where people's dreams come true.
Well said. I'd like to think it's both.
Mm-hmm.
My dream is in alignment with a lot of these musicians and the fans. I'm a fan. I get tired of putting on the show, the daytime. And by the way, all the details matter. When you're putting on a big show, how it goes on sale, when you get to the venue, going into the venue, the security experience, the box office experience, the bar experience, the bathroom, the sound, the lights, the floor, everything matters, right? If one of those pieces goes off, it'll impact the rest of the rope. If you lose any piece of the rope, it breaks. Your experience at that show can be, anyone listening knows, like, you waited too long at the box office. If the bar lines wait too long, if the air's off, if the sound's annoying, your whole experience can be off, right? The feng shui's off, So I am a fan, and I look to make it, all those things be right for them and for me. Because if it's off, it bothers me. I want to be at the show. I need that magical feeling to power me into the next day and want to do it again, because you don't really do what I do, putting on shows just to make money. You should pick, something else. You just go own a bar with a cash register and sell drinks, because I wouldn't hire the sound guy, the booking guy, the lighting guy, the production guy, putting on live shows. There's a reason why there's only one or two companies, big companies, do it. Live Nation and AEG. It's not a good business. When you put on a concert, oh yeah, the artist takes you. When you win, putting on live music, you make 2, and when you lose 12. That's the game. The band. When you lose, you can lose a lot, and when you win, you make a little. It's true. So you can maybe do it on scale, right? That's how Live Nation doing lots of shows and stadiums. And the other tricky thing is, if you're doing a 600-person club, you still need the lighting guy, the sound guy. You need a booking guy. You need a head of the box office. You need a stage manager. You need the night manager. I can go through the list. At 3,000 people, 5 times the size of the tickets, you're not needing 5 times the people. So the irony in this is, when you're smaller and you're a smaller club, the economics are even harder. And maybe that's the truth of business in a lot of ways in America, in the world. So it gets easier when you're bigger, which then favors the bigger guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tricky game. You got to be in it because you love it.
When you think about your profession, are you an entrepreneur, or are you a promoter? Are you a community builder? Like, how do you think about your quote unquote job?
I don't. I just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have
Mm-hmm.
been called all those things, but I stay focused. The Netflix in my mind is about how to handle the security, or how to get which guest are we going to have with this band, or I got to make sure this person's on the guest list. Remember, we said all the details matter.
Mm-hmm.
If all the details matter, this doesn't get easy ever. Never. Even now, I've done lots of stuff. I got a book. I'm still dealing, before I got on the podcast, with like little details for my Burning Spear show tomorrow in Central Park. Guest list, because it's all got, when this person shows up, at the door, I got to make sure their name's down and this and that. So it gets easier maybe because I've done it 10,000 times, but it never gets easy, because if you want to do it well. Because if you're doing it well, you're doing all the details, and really doing the details. And if you're doing all the details, you don't have time to think about what you call yourself. You got to be focused on doing it. I spend a lot of time thinking about doing it That's how I did the Dead 50. I'm a Deadhead kid. And I made a film about them in college. I couldn't get any of the guys in the band to be in my film to do an interview. And then 25 years later, I did their 50th anniversary reunion. I put them back together. And if I sat there at night thinking about, yo, bro, I'm reuniting the Grateful Dead. Oh, I know that the minute I walk outside, I'll get struck by lightning. So I'm sitting there at home, not thinking about, yo, what this means and what to call them. I'm thinking about, we should get the security guys to wear tie-dye shirts, or the
Yeah.
Christmas lights.
One of your quotes, I think it's a remarkable insight. And it seems so simple because it's exactly how you've described what you're doing now, but it's probably how you've done your life for most of your life. Is if you're going to be really good at anything, this is your quote, I think you need to approach it all as one life and be a little obsessive. And I can't nod my head more to that. And it begs the question, like, how is your home life?
Well, my wife's helps me. I bring her on for these big projects. I think she helped me get me on the show with you. She's a music publicist. That helps,
Mhm, mhm,
so we can talk
mhm.
about it. When I did Dead 50, she did the PR. My kids are not music kid. They're normal kids. They like soccer and TikTok and friends and video games, but they're not coming to concerts, and nor am I dragging them along. And this phone that goes both ways in that the pro of the phone, obviously it's around all the time. My thing never stops. I don't even think the human was made to be receive texts and emails all the time. I told
Yeah,
Ron
no,
Delsner,
no chance. Yeah.
who's the greatest living concert promoter, Ron Delsner, like he started, I was like, Ronnie, in 69, 79, 1989, 99, 09, if someone wanted to get on the guest list for one of his shows day of, they called his office and he'd be like, sorry, Michael, I didn't get your message the next day. Sorry, bro. With this
Mhm.
tech stuff, I'll be at the venue and I'll get texts from people and they know I've be like, hey, Pete, I'm outside or I'm at the bar. Can I get a VIP? So I can't escape that. In the old days, the phone call, I would have been like, I didn't get your call. Even email, you can escape. Like, oh, I didn't see it. It passed by. Text, you cannot. We all know it's hard to escape that. So that's hard. Now, the good news is I can be with my family, on a week and go away with them or take a vacation with them or be with one of my kids. We're in August. I'm going to go to Michigan next week, with my son who's 12, and I'll be with him, but I will have the phone with me, and I can
This
put
is
it down for a
yeah.
little while, but you cannot be good at what I do and put it down for all day and be like, you know what, I'm taking 24 hours. I've never put a bounce back email. Some of the kids that work for me have the bounce email. Hey, I'm out of town. I've never done a bounce back email. I'm out ever. And I'm right, ever. I'm not, you never know who's going to email you. I'm not, let's be honest. You could be in Singapore. I was just there. You can bounce back. So that's the pro and con. Like I'm in Singapore, so I can't complain too much with my wife, but I'm also bouncing back. I love that FaceTime audio. Anyone can be in Singapore and talk and catch up with her. You do FaceTime audio, it costs zero. It costs zero. And so I can do the remote thing, but I also cannot escape my life until one day I sign off. I don't know. I don't know what my future holds that way, what I'm going to do. And by the way, I don't plan it. Sometimes people say, what's your big plan? Now I've got these venues all over the country. I didn't plan that really from the beginning. Like I'm going to go have the big venue in Vegas and Nashville. It's much more just one day at a time. Opportunities come, ideas come, try to follow your gut instinct. And then I have leaned in when I've been at the fork in the road, take over a music magazine in 2009 when the world's falling apart. My gut was lean into taking over Relics. When Wetlands, I had the opportunity to take over this amazing legendary rock club. 1996, I'm 23 years old. I know nothing about running a venue, but I knew this place was incredibly special. Once in a lifetime, I leaned into it. A couple of big forks in the road I've leaned into doing. I've done I always try to work with, collaborate, and I'm still going.
So you are a risk taker. And one of the things that I've enjoyed in your readings is that you're honest. And the honesty, even that you're sharing right now, requires a level of risk. And so I'm wondering if you could just go right back to the origins of your first club that you bought there. Um, but there's something that I couldn't make sense in the book, and I feel like I missed a step where you came in and you're eager, you wanted to get involved, and you didn't expect that you're going to get ownership or
Yep,
much of it, so to speak. And then the owner wouldn't give you kind of access to the books.
yep.
And then at some point, I missed the step in how you became an owner. And so,
Well, it's a little
how did you become?
complicated. It's a good.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You're
How
right.
did you
It
become
is. It's a little bit.
full
Right.
ownership?
It's
Yeah.
Well. First of all, he would not show the books. So now today, if I was sitting here with all my experience, I'd probably tell him to go f off.
Hmm.
I need to see the books. Something that, but I was naively brilliant. This is how I got Wetlands at 23 years old. I said, you know what? When you have a new business, there's no books. You have projections. And I said to my father, who was a lawyer, by the way, I have no music in my family. My dad's a tax lawyer, was a tax lawyer. I was like, well, when you do a new business, you're doing projections. At least here, I know what the garbage is. I know what the water cost is. I know what you share the payroll, the garbage, the water, the electric bill. But he felt this is this legendary rock club. I want someone who's going to buy. I don't want the bigger companies who want to. Once a bigger company hears there's no books, they say goodbye. And he wants the right person who believes in it. And I was like, it's Wetlands. It's world famous. I know the rent too, 20 grand a month. The garbage. I'm like, I already know a lot of the projections. They're actuals. And because I leaned into that and said, okay, no books. Okay, give me the individual expenses. And I leaned in. That's how I got it. And there's really a crazy story that originally, because I was so young, I was going to be partners with others. And in the end, Larry came and said, "We're going to do a benevolent dictatorship. It's just going to be Peter." And by the way, I didn't have the money, so I paid him over time. He gave it to me. I agreed to continue an environmental center. This club was pre-internet. This is '96. There was no meetup.org. There were no podcasts. So Rainforest Action Network, Amnesty International, the idea was, where do they get young people who usually get involved in activism as young people? Where do you get them to meet? The library, the school, or the rock club? So he used the rock club for meetings before the shows. Pretty, analogically brilliant. I agreed to continue that and spend 100 grand a year on 2 to 3 environmental activists. And in exchange for committing to continue that mission, and we put flyers and information all over the club, he gave it to me and I paid him on a monthly thing. Originally, I was going to have partners. This is an amazing story. One of the partners, to ingratiate himself into the good graces of this staff of 50 and the environmental center volunteers, hired one of the environmental center activists interns, worker intern, to clean his house, and he would pay him. It's a true story. The kid's cleaning this guy's house. On the desk, sees a letter that the guy writes to his girlfriend saying, "I'm taking over this club Wetlands. Because I've agreed to continue the environmental center and fund it, the guy's basically giving it to us. Once I get control of it, I'm getting rid of that bullshit." The kid reads this, takes the letter. There was no camera phone then. So he runs down, goes to Kinko's, Xeroxes the letter. Never really told the story out loud. It's in my homework. Takes the Xerox, brings it back, puts the original on the table, goes and meets Larry Block, who was the owner of Wetlands then, gives him the Xerox of the letter that says, I'm just bullshitting this guy that I'm going to do the environmental center, but I'm really going to knock off this 100 grand a year once I get. And Larry read the letter, and that's when he said, "Peter, you're not partners with that guy anymore. You're doing this alone. Wetlands is going to be yours."
Oh my God. This kid is a
That's a true
legend.
story, buddy. That's a true. That
Oh,
happened.
Peter, imagine this
I
kid's
hope everyone
heart.
could follow that.
No, that's so good. But I just
That's
like imagine that kid's heartbeat. Like, I got to do something. You know, his heart was pounding as he's like running down the
yeah.
stairs to find
By the way,
Kinko's to get it back in time to, like
yeah,
that's rad. That is
my
rad.
life is different. I'll give you one more Kinko story, just in rock and roll. First of all, I think without that story, I'm probably not here on the podcast with you, because
Hmm.
the other guy was going to be more the controlling guy. It changed my life. I once did an award show at the Jammies in 2001 or two. Because we did it a couple times, we did it at Roseland Ballroom, 3,000 person, amazing venue, no longer here. I needed so many passes, backstage passes for it was like a Jammies jam session. And I had, Buddy Guy with Phil Lesh and, Peter Frampton with the band Guster, all these different collaborations. So many guests that I needed 600 passes. And the venue Roseland said, here's 200 passes. You could have no more passes, Peter. And I'm
This is
like,
your
I need
event. This
600.
is
My
your
event. I'm
event. Your
renting it.
event.
My
Hmm.
event. They're the,
Hmm.
I'm like, I need 600. They say you have 200. I need the passes. I have 20, 30 different acts. They've all got managers and agents and friends. They say no. I said, okay. I went. Luckily, hopefully statute of limitations is up here for the concert. I got the intern to go to Kinko. And I faked Lammy's to my own event. And it was all going well. I made 400 new ones. We had the intern do it, so plausible deniability. And check this out, Mike. We're settling at the end of a concert. It's called settlement, right? You go in the back, you get the receipts from the ticket sales, you pay for the cost of the stage labor, etc. We're settling the show, backstage Roseland. And the woman who was like, you can only have 200 passes, sees my pass starting to peel. And she says, wait a minute, what's going on with your pass? Let me see that. And so that's the kind of stuff you need to do in rock and roll, bro. You got to, sometimes you need to fake a pass to your own show.
So wait, hold on. Let's finish this. So you're
Yeah.
confronted now. You're
I'm
confronted now.
confronted. Yeah.
This is the magic of like how these things work. Do you look at her and grin? Like yeah, like or is it like no 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 no? This is a good one. Like how do you navigate that moment where that she's onto it?
Right. That separates the good from the great.
That
By the way, you just
100%.
nailed it. By the way, you drilled it. I did probably a combination of those things. Some stuttered, no, this is good. And do a gentle swirl, twirl, and walk out of the room, before
Uh-huh.
but
Uh-huh.
being able to get out of that room without getting in real trouble separates the good from the great. So by the way, if I hadn't done these 600 passes, if I hadn't gotten the kid to go to Kinko's, I would have been more, it wouldn't have worked. What are we going to tell certain acts who are playing this gig? We don't have a pass for your manager, your brother, all that. That's not a possibility.
Mm-mm.
So that's what I do, putting on concerts is a lot about. A lot of it is managing the problems.
Mhm.
And that's what I mean. Problems never go, or, issues. If the weather changes the wrong way, if lightning comes or rain, you have to adjust. You may have to evacuate and then bring everyone back. There's just a lot of issues that are on the fly that technology doesn't solve.
Okay, I want to take a quick little break right here to talk about Keon. You've probably heard that the human body is mostly water, but what you likely don't know is that the next largest component after water are amino acids, which make up about 50% of your solid body mass. So these building blocks are essential for health and wellness and fitness. No matter how you like to move, wherever and however you stay fit, amino acids are essential. And that's why Keon Aminos are one of my go-to supplements for fitness and health as well. Keon Aminos is backed by over 20 years of clinical research. They have the highest quality ingredients. There's no filters, no junk. They undergo rigorous quality testing. They got the taste right. They've got this thing working. It also gives you a natural boost in energy. There's an athletic recovery mechanism, as I mentioned earlier. So I just want to encourage you to check out Keon Aminos and give them a shot. So right now, as a Finding Mastery listener, you can save 20% off monthly deliveries and 10% on a one-time purchase. So punch over to getkeon.com/finding mastery. So you spell that get, G-E-T, Keon, Kion, getkeon.com/finding mastery to get one of my fundamental supplements for fitness, for health. It's Keon Aminos. And Finding Mastery is also brought to you by Bio-Optimizers. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know how bullish I am on magnesium. The tricky thing about magnesium is it's nearly impossible to get sufficient levels through food alone. So no matter how much of a well-balanced diet I'm eating, when I do my blood draws to take a look at where my magnesium levels are, it feels like I can always do better there. And that's why I turn to Bio-Optimizers. Now, there's a few reasons that it might be hard to get magnesium into your diet. And there's 7 different types of magnesium that we need, to make sure that we're receiving the full benefits, not just one. So that's why I like Bio-Optimizers as a solution, because their magnesium breakthrough supplement has all 7 types of magnesium in it. And it's specifically formulated to reach every tissue in our bodies to provide maximum health benefits. I take 2 right before bed almost every night, and it's been a game changer for me. I want to encourage you to give Bio-Optimizers a shot. So right now, you can get Magnesium Breakthrough and any other Bio-Optimizer product for 10% off when you visit www.magbreakthrough.com/finding mastery. And then I want to encourage you to use the code finding mastery at checkout. So that's how you get 10% off. So again, it's MAG breakthrough.com/finding mastery, and then use the code finding mastery during checkout for 10% off. And with that, let's jump right back into our conversation. Okay, do I have this? So we're still kind of in this risk taking, the art of risk taking, but do I have this right? This is a 2-parter, that you front the band or the artist the money, and then it's your job to be able to fill the house, to make the bar tab work, and then you take the net benefit or the net profit from that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Okay, so that's why you don't.
but they get a guarantee. Most of the
The,
bigger bands, for sure, are all guarantees.
mhm.
Some of the smaller bands, you might do a split, on the door. But bigger bands, you guarantee money, and then I sell the tickets. By
And
the way,
then
they
do
get,
they?
and then they get more if you sell a lot.
Yeah, so you want to incentivize them to spread the word. So at certain capacity, they get a bonus, let's say.
Yeah, and they now have socials, and we have socials. So in some ways, technology. When I started this back to Wetlands, or even the early Brooklyn Bowl, there was no TikTok, Snap, Instagram. I mean, at Wetlands, very early. And I'll give you an interesting one. Here's a cool one. And certainly, if I wanted to pop a big show tomorrow, it's much easier with technology and all the platforms for me to announce I'm doing Guns N' Roses. We did that once. Today, in 2 days, we're going to go on sale tomorrow. Today's Tuesday. So let's say we go on sale when we announce it on Instagram and Facebook and our website and Twitter. Guns N' Roses, Brooklyn Bowl, Thursday, and it's Tuesday, 2 days. We're going to go on sale tomorrow at noon. And then and that's easy now. In the old days, there was no pushing it out on socials. We had to call the radio station and get Q104 or whoever in New York or WPLJ to announce it on the radio. We had to make flyers and cards and go to shows and hand them out. We couldn't turn around a show as fast as I can now. So that's the good part of technology. Here's an interesting one. Back in the 90s at Wetlands, we had the Village Voice, which is no longer really around. The great print weekly of what's going on in New York. Every city had one. Some still do, but a lot don't. The Village Voice, or they're a lot thinner now. And the old days, in the 90s, LA Weekly, Village Voice, the Weekly Reader in Chicago, they all had 20 pages of music ads. Remember that 15 pages
Mm-hmm.
in the middle? Every venue, the Roselands, the Wetlands, the Tramps, CBGBs, they had a quarter, half page, full page of all the acts that are coming up. And then the arena would have a full page ad that said, Roger Waters. And you could, Tuesday night, the Village Voice came out. Everyone would get it, open it up, spend 15, it was fun, 15, 20 minutes, analog newspaper, going through the ads of the music listings, the music ads. After you read that, You knew who was coming to New York, who was coming to play at Roseland, Tramps, Wetlands, CBGB's, Irving Plaza, the Garden. You knew them all. Today, 2022, technology is way beyond. I'm on email lists. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. By the way, I'm personally on social media a lot. I don't. That's another story. I don't have accounts, but you go lurk. You're on email lists. You can know individual venues better, like if Guns N' Roses is going to come to Brooklyn Bowl, but you do not know nearly as well as you knew 20 years ago, more 25 years ago, who was going to be playing in New York in a month at all the different venues. You knew better a month ago, 25 years ago. You knew it. But now we no longer have that print version of the Village Voice. We have lots of accounts
De
on socials,
Yeah,
but no.
it's decentralized now, right? It's
Isn't that
harder to
interesting? You do
know.
not,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's a good take. I mean, so when you think about that, in many respects, the world was smaller in that way, that you could maintain a central hub for who and when and where, that they're playing. And so you could have your pulse, you could palpate the pulse of the industry, or like how well you were doing or not doing. And then how do you palpate now? Like, where do you take the pulse of the health or the vibrancy of your business?
Well, ticket sales. At the end of the
Okay.
day, it's still like selling tickets and
Mhm.
listen, I created this Brooklyn Bowl thing, or we did, it's clearly from people who had a normal rock club. Like Wetlands, if you had a night that was not selling, you just died. It was dead. No one could, and once the venue's dead early, you never really later that night it's going to be rock. It's just dead. And when you just had a traditional rock club with a band and a stage and a bar, you're just dead. So the Brooklyn Bowl thing with the bowling and the food and the music, we have less dead nights because we can create a baseline easier with the bowling kind of thing. And it's actually been a mitzvah, I think, for bands who don't sell well. We'll have nights where we have like a party on the lanes or 100 people who otherwise wouldn't be there.
Mhm.
So on a weeknight, there are bands that would have tanked, but we can protect them. The other cool thing about it, and it was somewhat unintended, I didn't realize it would be, and my partner Charlie, I don't think thought it would. We didn't think all this throughout. But because we have all these different revenue lines, bowling, food, obviously the drinks is key, the tickets. We can pay a band equal to what they make at a traditional venue, call it Urban Plaza, where it's just the bar and the tickets. So for a band to make 10 grand, they get 10 grand at Brooklyn Bowl or Irving Plaza. At Irving Plaza, the tickets have to be 35 bucks, 30 bucks. At Brooklyn Bowl, we could do it at 15
Mm.
because we had the food revenue and the bowling revenue also. And once it's 15, you get walk up, especially where we were, which on a Saturday, anyone will walk up at Brooklyn Bowl, 15 bucks, done, 15 bucks, done. So we do 400 walk-ups. At Irving Plaza at 30 bucks, the same act to get 10 grand, right? The same 30 bucks, no one walks up and pays. No one walks up to a venue. 30 bucks, done. Maybe at a super dance club in Ibiza or something, but a live music thing and you don't know the band. So now we're managing this band. We're going to get 10 grand playing New York, either at Irving Plaza, traditional venue, or at this Brooklyn Bowl thing. We are going to sell 400 tickets in advance at each place, pretty much, maybe more at 15 at Brooklyn Bowl. But the Brooklyn Bowl will do 400 walk-ups on a week. So we'll total 800 people. At Irving, you're not doing any walk-ups. You just have the 400 advance tickets. The walk-up people have never seen the band probably before. They're just walking up. I want to go hang out. It's a lower ticket price I can do because I've got all the other money coming from the bowling, the food, and now I have 400 more people. So I have 800 at 15 bucks, 12 grand, no problem. And we're the manager. What you want is new people to see your band.
Mhm.
So when you played Brooklyn Bowl, what happened, Michael, was we were getting 400 people seeing a band for the first time. So the managers in the band were like, wow, this is awesome. When it's 30 bucks at Irving Plaza and you get no walk up, of those 400 people that bought advance tickets, most of them, no one, almost all of them have seen them before. There's
Yeah,
very,
so that's
so
there's
that
an
if you can follow
exponential
that, then
growth.
yeah.
No, there's an
Yes.
exponential growth. There's a flywheel, but there's also diversified risk and diversified income streams. So
Yes.
that sounds like a modern business that is going to take some of the risk off the table through
Yes.
diversification, but also
We
create a flywheel. Like, hey, we're going to expose you to new and different. Come here, don't go
Yes,
over
it's called
there.
a soft
Like
ticket. It's like when bands play
soft ticket.
festivals. Sorry, it's
Yeah,
soft
right.
ticket is there's 30 bands, we're one of 30. A hard ticket is there's one band, Irving Plaza, $30. That's a hard ticket. We want to play soft ticket venues.
I
We were
see.
a hard ticket real venue, Broken Bowl, that was like a soft ticket. You nailed it. And that's
Yeah,
why
that's cool.
Broken Bowl is in
Okay.
Philly and in Nashville and in Vegas. And we're gonna do a like and listen, we didn't think it through that deeply. Um, but that's kind of what happened. And we were able to charge less at the door. And by
Mhm.
charging less, we got walk up. I'll give you another one. We gave the bands 100% of the merch. Most venues, Irving
100%.
Plaza is
Yeah.
80/20. So like now you're the band plus the food. And I don't know how many people, but Brooklyn Blue Ribbon's pretty well known. We had this great food. So you're playing. Do you want to play where you get 100% of the merch? You get the blue ribbon fried chicken instead of a sandwich plate, instead of 80/20 on the merch, $15 ticket for your fan instead of 30. And that's kind of what happened. Um, and,
I
it,
was
yeah,
speaking to somebody who sells out stadiums, and they were, of course, the guarantee is cool, right? But they're like the merch kills it. You know, you've got 100,000 amphitheater of people, 100,000 person amphitheater, and they're like, it crushes it. So yeah, so you pull as many levers as you can, and it sounds like you're definitely artist first, band first.
yeah, you have to,
Hmm.
yeah, that's
Okay.
why they're my
So
friends, and that's where I lead with, you don't do this to make, listen, I want to make the bands more money. I mean, I want to do well too. If the bands make more, we'll get to do more shows. We'll do 2 nights and then 3 nights, and then they'll go to the next bigger venue I have. And as the venues get bigger, it's harder to do the 100% merch. The bands want more money now. Actually, in the Vegas Brooklyn Bowl, it's 2,500 people. We're 80/20 a lot too on the merch. But the New York thing, we really
okay.
tried to lead with 100. Try to do everything we could. And by the way, don't underestimate hanging and eating the food and the bowling, and the girlfriend or the boyfriend of the band is getting it during sound check instead of sitting in an empty green room with a crudité plate. We've got these lanes and this great food, and just trying to create an atmosphere for them that's just better. That's what I try to do.
How about this piece? Like some of the folks that you've promoted and hired and become friends with. I mean, the list is, I mean, almost it's hard to even imagine from Snoop to U2 to the Rolling Stones, obviously the Dead, Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Sting, Kid Rock. I mean, the list goes on. Blues Travelers. How, if you just did the Rolodex in your mind of like people that have deeply influenced you, where do you land? Who do you land?
Well, the Grateful Dead is where I had my sliding doors moment, which is you either get on the train, you make it, or you don't, if the doors close.
Hmm.
And in one scenario, you make the train and your life goes in a certain path. Something happened. You meet someone on the train and everything goes from there. The other version is you don't make the train and your life's different. I just happened to go to a Grateful Dead concert as a college student in Chicago in March of 1993. I mean, this is, I believe you can hear it in my voice, Rosemont Horizon. I went to a show. They had a special guest, Ken Nordine, do spoken word. And then something happened when he just started doing a spoken word that the next thing I knew, I was in the parking lot. I left. My head was in a certain place and it was snowing and I was in a drum circle. And these kids were not going back to Northwestern. I was 20, going back to college that night. They weren't going home. They had the school bus and the drum circle, the classic Grateful Dead parking lot scene. And I had never seen anything like that. By the way, I still haven't. That does not exist. That traveling circus is, there's no other comp to that, but that's a whole. So I make it somehow. I make it back to college. I didn't have a phone. I don't know how I found my friends, but we talk about being at doors for shows, which is you want to be at doors. You're first in line, so that when the doors open, you run on to the front of the floor and right on the barricade, first row. I was at doors for the library at Northwestern the next morning, 8, 9 a.m. because I was a film kid and I wanted to research what had been done on this unbelievable thing I had seen in the parking lot at the Grateful Dead show. Forget the band, I'm talking about the fans in the scene. And about 2 months later, I found another student at Northwestern, who was a film kid, who owned the video cameras. 93, remember, video cameras were big, but you could get one and like shoot video. And it was early 90s. And I went in a van for a month. We rented an all white Econoline Ford, no window van, which I learned quickly, if you're going to show up at the Grateful Dead show to shoot a documentary, don't show up in an all white van with no windows. Because we pulled in to Auburn Hills, Michigan for the first day, and then DEA. So I'm like, Phil, keep driving.
Get us out of here.
A few blocks. Yeah, get us out of here. We walked back
Oh
with the camera.
God.
So
Oh
yeah, it's
God.
called In Miles to Go. It's on YouTube. In Miles to Go, if you put it in, or Shapiro and Miles to Go. I made an hour-long film. And you ready? The band, I think I mentioned before, wasn't in it, but I got Ken Kesey and Tim Leary and all. And I went on the road with all the kids that were like me.
Wait.
They were,
Was Professor Tim Leary?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so how do you get an interview with Tim Leary?
Yeah.
And so can you describe for folks who don't?
I don't know if that's a whole nother thing, but by the way, Larry Block, who owned Wetlands, saw the film. Just to bring this full circle, and you talked about Wetland, he saw the film, which was created by this kid who saw the important. And then Garcia died in 95. And I say to Larry, because he announces he can't do Wetlands anymore, it's too much, he's going to pass it on. And I raise my hand and say, I've seen firsthand this scene. Garcia's gone, but I know the music will still go, and there'll be all these new bands. And I want to help perpetuate that in Wetlands. So that's kind of how. And then from Wetlands, I do Brooklyn Bowl in the Capitol Theater, and then to here today with you. Like, I believe, if I was not going to be a concert promoter. I had no interest. I saw Lollapalooza. That was my second Dead show ever. But if I don't go to that Dead show, and they pass through town, and I don't end up in that parking lot and want to go make a film, I would have made a film about something else, I think. But not, but I went and did the Dead. I met Larry from that, and Wetlands, and the rest. Isn't that why I believe that in my heart? I know
That's cool.
that it all came from that night.
It goes back to your earlier note that you've got to be there to be there. And even more importantly, from a psychological perspective, is like, even though your body might be there, you need to be there fully present. Or like, the moments rip by so fast that you kind of get left out of the train doors that are closing. So
yeah.
So what about
I've chosen. You
job?
went through the list of stuff I've done a lot.
Yeah.
I feel good. I'm kind of glad I was hesitant to do this book at first. I'm a little young, but I feel so good. I've got it down now, because I feel like, after a physics test in high school, or chemistry, when you took the final and you were done, you're like, okay, I'm never going to need to know that chemistry. I can push it out of my brain. I'm so glad I went back. First of all, I don't know if people who wait to the end of their life, I wouldn't have remembered most of it in 20 years, 25 years. I barely remember it now. I had help. The internet helps, and I had a writer who helped me a lot. But I feel so good, and I'm glad I've leaned into being there a lot. I've taken a lot of red eye. You asked about my kids. I would go to Vegas. I've mastered, like, leaving. I had a venue in London and Vegas. I figured out you could leave New York on a Thursday night, take the red eye to London, wake up Friday morning, still take like a nap, do a show in London on Friday night, do a show in London on Saturday night. Sunday, let's say noon, fly to Vegas. It's a long 11-hour flight, but you gain 8 hours, right? 5 hours to New York, 8 hours. So you land at 1 or 2 o'clock in Vegas, 3 o'clock. Then I would do a show in Vegas that night and take the midnight 1 a.m. last red eye back to New York. I'd be in New York Monday morning. and I
That's what
could
I'm
sleep. I
talking
mean,
about. Yeah.
one trick is
Yeah.
being able to sleep anywhere. Anyone listening wants it. That's a trick. I'm always tired, being able to sleep. But I left Thursday night. I was back Monday morning, and I saw 2 shows in London and a show in Vegas.
Mm.
I mean, you just got, and anyone can do that in their life going to draw. I think it's just how you approach it. I'm going to road trip here. I'm going to logistics, and then but I've done a lot of being there, and going as a fan, as my business. And that's, I just, that I'm chasing that feeling of, you can't, and part of it's the show. Live music for me, it never fades. I don't know what it is about it. It just doesn't fade every time and it powers me again to want more. And it's beyond money or getting a massage, money and a nice car or a massage. By the way, I've done more and been successful because I didn't make a lot of money. Because I'm still, I think once you make a bunch of money, and maybe I hope it happens one day for me, I think I will lose an edge. But I've made a lot of decisions that cost more. And this whole corporate shareholder, return to shareholder, philosophy, that does not jive with giving people, you got to spend extra to get the tie-dye shirts with security guys. It's not that much, or even the light, some decisions cost more, you'll make less. If a band asks for something extra, so I've leaned into that and probably made less. But I always try to make the decision that's right, for the moment. It's not always the economic one.
You sound more like an invested artist. Like, you know what? I need this guitar or I want that sound, so we're gonna go to this studio and well, that studio is really expensive or it's across the world. I want that, and there's that extra investment in the art. And it sounds like you align
Yeah,
more
the lights. By
there.
the way, we had
Yeah,
a
the
joke at
lights, same
my
thing. Yeah.
venues, but yeah, after a big private, a lot of the money when you make is private events. Let's get some new toy. Like rather than be like, hey, let's take the money. Like, let's get some new lights.
I see.
Let's get some new lights.
So just
So
a few like moving away from business just for a moment, like I think Leonard Cohen is amazing. Like what did you learn from Leonard? What do you remember? And maybe it's like, we barely knew each other. Like that one didn't move me in any way. But I know you had a long history with Bono.
Well, yeah,
I
well,
think it
that
was Bono. Yeah.
overlaps. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Leonard Cohen, I mean, here's a good thing of having a venue. I was the first investor and partner in a place called the Slipper Room on the Lower East Side. It opened in '99. And it was like a vaudeville theater, beautiful inside. And I got the call one day from James Habacker, who ran it, started it, and said, Leonard Cohen's shooting. Thank God he called me. He said, I want to give you a heads up. We're shooting this documentary film. Remember, there was a great film about Leonard Cohen. They
Hmm.
shot the closing scene at the Slipper Room. And he's like, you two's going to do it with him. And you're invited, because you're a part. So I go there. He didn't even realize, James, but I had been trying to get to U2. I was working on a 3D technology and I wanted to get to U2, and it's hard to get to U2. Paul McGuinness wasn't really responding. And I go there and Paul McGuinness is there. And Bono, I'm standing, I'm allowed to be in there because I own the place. No one else is. It's true, And but here's a good thing I learned. Ready? So I'm standing there, we're hanging out. I introduce Peter Shapiro. By the way, I reached out to you, working on this 3D. Luckily, the venue's incredible and beautiful. Leonard Cohen goes across, they're shooting a scene in a song, and he goes across the street to the coffee shop. No one knew where he was. But this delayed things in the shoot. So I had some time there with, talk to Paul and all this. I made a decision. Then Leonard comes back in and the band gets ready to shoot this scene. And here's what I learned, right? Sometimes you want to leave early rather than be the last one standing. Because when you leave early, and I didn't want to leave early, Leonard Cohen's playing the Slipper with U2. But by leaving a little early, I got to go to Paul McGuinness, who's the legendary manager of U2, and say goodbye. Paul, good to see you. Love having you here. I got to go. I made up a thing. And he said, good to see you. And I said, by the way, I've been trying to reach you on this 3D thing. We want to show you this technology. I mean, and I'd love to show you our demo. He pulled out his black book. He goes, great. When do you want to do it? I said, next week. He put his black book and we set up a time. I showed it to him and I went and made a movie with him.
Mm.
If I had waited to watch the full Leonard Cohen performance, which I wanted to, I'm alone in the play. Paul McGinnis, he wasn't going to say goodbye to Pete Shapiro. Any moment he could have just walked out. His wife called and left. And if I had stuck around, he would have left. I wouldn't have had a chance to say goodbye and say, he just would have left. I wouldn't be in his black book. I actually believe, just like that if I had stuck around and waited, he would have left. He would have not said goodbye. And I wouldn't have a screening with him the next week and I wouldn't have made the movie. I wouldn't have been able to reach him. So when I think back to Leonard Cohen, my experience, pretty wild. I left in the middle of his performance
Yeah,
so that I could
geez,
say
yeah.
goodbye to Paul McGinnis and get it. When you say goodbye to someone, you get to say, great to see you, Michael. By the way, this versus you wait and you overplay your hand, you stay too long and they just left and you can't find them.
You got
I don't know if
stories,
that makes
brother.
sense, but that's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a real
like
one. Yeah, these are all.
you are you are a true founder. You know, you are a founder's mentality. You've got that scrappiness to make something happen, and you're it's super clean and clear for you. And so I've listen. I really appreciate your time and your insight. I've really enjoyed your book, and I just want to say thank you for sharing some of the practices and the ways of thinking that have helped you, and in return helping us. So, all that being said, is there a send off that you would like to maybe challenge our community, or to nudge our community to do more of this or less of that, or do something that's been meaningful to you so
Yeah.
that they can be better? Hmm.
The first thing that was fun. It went by fast.
Yeah.
And different than the usual ones. So thanks for having me on. Um, I'll leave you with this. Anyone who wants to do this, put on a show, anyone can. Because, and I put on the Grateful Dead reunion, biggest concerts probably maybe in America by a band, 3 nights, Soldier Field. By the way, after those shows, there were 50 shows a night throughout Chicago off of it. But I still do Grateful Dead cover bands, little things. I'm doing all, it's just, and anyone can do that. Anyone can go rent a bar in their town or city and book a cover band, book their friend's band, their brother's band for 40 people. You still need to book the band, book the venue, put it on sale, market the show, do the box office, do the sound check, do the right, put on the show, then settle the show after, pay the band. Even if you're paying the band $50, $100, 30 people show up. You're still putting on a show. A lot of things that you have to do for 80,000 are the same for 80. So anyone hearing this, listening, who's wanted to try it, you can do it in your backyard. Anyway, you can do it, and you can have 15. I still love going to small show. You get that magic feel. You don't have to be in an arena to get the magic. It can show up anywhere, so anyone can do that.
That's awesome. That points straight back to know your fundamentals. Work those muscles, work those ways of thinking, so that you can be eloquent when bigger risk or bigger opportunities are presented. Like, I love it. Foundational. Last question. Best little gem or nugget or takeaway that one of the artists that you've worked with has shared with you that impacted you.
Well, I mean, it was interesting from Bono. Not surprisingly, how much when we showed him that demo of 3D
Hmm.
technology that we showed Paul McGinnis, then we showed it to Bono. And his question, the lights came up in the theater. We had a digital 3D test that we showed. And his question was, so the idea was to do a U2 3D movie. And he said, will we be first? That was the first group. He goes, okay, will we be first? Yeah. Okay, let's do this. So, and by the way, you don't always want, the other thing I've learned starting a business, you talk about founders, being first is hard. It's a lot harder. Sometimes you want to be second. A lot of people have made a lot of money out there, probably pick things up, so like, there's the magic of being first. Creatives, the artist wants to be first, but as a business person, you might want to be second.
Isn't that the case? Isn't
That's
that built somebody else can build a marketplace. You just wanna
right.
be able to capture it.
I think
I like the
Microsoft is in their story. Those guys,
yeah.
Gates and Paul Allen, right? They weren't. There was someone else screwing around. The first guy often ends up. By the way, I almost did. I almost went bankrupt. I mean, that could be on our next show.
Mm, mm.
Going to Vegas. I almost went bankrupt, but fortunately, I didn't. But and I've had people in bet. Sometimes you want to be second, but your heart, your magic, Bono, you want to be first.
Yeah, I hear that, and I think it was the Dead that said, I don't wanna be the best, I wanna be the only one doing it."
Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah,
yeah.
so there's that category too. So, Peter, you're a legend, and I understand. I understand it now. And so, thank you for time and stories and insights and best practices that you use, and I would like to learn about how you avoided bankruptcy, but maybe we'll share that or we'll reserve that for part 2.
Thanks, Michael. That was fun, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate you. All right, take care.
Case.